but it's that I think I could yoke to them. I think in tandem, I could help in some way this magical thing happen that might not happen if I didn't.
Right.
And it's always an obstacle, whether it's a psychological one or in some cases even a physical one, or if there's something I can remove and unblock psychologically and musically that really, really appeals to me and is kind of thematic to a lot of the ways I've been thinking about aligning with artists right now, you know, not as an act of altruism, but like as an act of like genuine obsessive, just kind of fascination. I'm fascinated with artists.
You're a shepherd, right? Huh? You're a shepherd. You want
a fangirl.
Well, yeah. But yeah. So you at this point you'd rather not self-produce? Is it you really want somebody to play that role for you?
Yeah. I don't think I should do it.
Yeah.
I think it's just my art is just right here. It's so close to me. It's like sitting in the front row of the movie theater. I can't see the whole shit, you know? And I really do need, but it has to be really a person that I can trust.
Right.
Somebody to help pull me back a little bit, show me the big picture, and also encourage me to embarrass myself a little bit.
Right.
Because I have a tendency to be really controlled. I always think about what I'm going to say and what I'm going to do. And so I like being sort of let off the chain, but I need permission and I need to really trust the person. And I want to be that for somebody else.
Okay, so one of the people that you have been that for is Brandi Clark.
Yeah.
And yes. So maybe why don't we maybe play a little bit? We have a couple of some snippets of music that we'll play. Maybe we'll start by playing some Brandi.
What's the first one we're going to play?
Well, we're just going to play a little, it's maybe a minute it's going Buried and then into...
So Buried, before you play it actually.
Sure, go ahead.
That's a track I'm really glad that you're playing. So I didn't brief on this because I really like to be surprised by what was going to happen.
That's why we didn't want to talk about it.
But Buried was the first song that me and Brandi Clark recorded. And Brandi Clark is a fascinating artist to me because she's my age, she's queer, she's a Brandi from Seattle. So we have these like really interesting parallels. And she's come up in country music, you know, conventional country music, which is in a place right now that I can't really jive with in some ways, you know, philosophically, politically. I struggle with it as an institution. I have many country artists that are beloved to me, as you know, and I actually am in a country band. But I feel like there are parts of who Brandi is that's just juxtaposed to the climate of country music right now. And I worry that it's not gonna accept her for who she is and the way she is. And I don't like being bleak about it, but I'm just kind of like, fuck it. You know, let's think differently. Let's lean this way musically. Let's actually reject it, you know, musically.
Yeah.
And when I first heard this song, it just like hit me in the heart, and there was no reverb on the vocal. It was just completely dry, and I don't think anyone's ever heard her that way. And I felt like it was a glimpse into a future for Brandi and a revelation of who she is that sort of extends beyond where she's been, which I'm really excited for people to hear, because and she very astutely named this album Brandi Clark. I mean, that says everything, that she's this far into a career in her 40s and self-titling an album. So that's what I think about this song particularly.
All right, well, let's cue it up.
If you don't love me
Yeah.
It's not country. Yeah, well, it leans more Americana, and that's Derek Trucks. Playing that too.
You can tell by just those 3 notes right
Yeah,
there.
like, oh yeah, that's Derek Trucks.
Slide like that. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there's the solo, that guitar solo is like,
Yeah.
was custom made
I
for him.
didn't want to give it all away. That's what kind of just faded.
Sorry, I'm just talking shit now. It's in the features, so it's in the track list, and people know. But I mean, when we recorded that song, it was like we built an enormous, guitar solo in there, and I was like, if we don't get Derek Trucks, we'll just edit it out.
That would have been the move, yeah. Well, so let's talk about songs because Brandi's a well-known songwriter, and
Fantastic.
it sounds like Barry she already had that song before
Yeah.
you started, yeah. But you wrote some songs with her on that album also, yes?
No, I just leaned in on all of them,
Oh,
I think
okay.
that's a really tricky thing, and actually that's an interesting thing to talk about, is like,
Right.
how do you navigate which parts of production are songwriting?
Exactly, that was right here.
Is it?
It's a big part of, particularly for your kind of, who would not want Brandi Carlile to write a song for them, right? But when do you decide or think or tell us about when you want to co-write or write or just stay out of the way? What are the things you're looking for when it comes to song selection, which is such a big part of producing, right? That's that's why Rick Rubin had that 15 song, So what is it that you're looking for maybe when you're choosing songs?
I think I'm just looking for the songs that reveal the artist most authentically, where it doesn't sound like they came out of a staff write room, or it doesn't sound like they are not being revealed authentically in the song for whatever reason. That's just what interests me in recording it, because I get distracted if I'm not capturing raw vulnerability for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then in terms of writing, even that song that you heard, I leaned in on a couple of lyrics that I felt got plugged in, and encouraged her to rewrite them, and helped, and had a great time, but wouldn't call that songwriting because of the hat that I'm wearing in that room, And it's tricky because, again, I always have my own experience to draw from as an artist. How would I feel if? How would I feel if? And me and the twins have only ever written everything together. So everything that we ever write says Brandi, Tim, and Phil, Brandi, Tim, and Phil, whether we all contributed to it or not. It's just who we've always been. And so we never let anybody else really into that little triangle of us. And on both albums with Dave, you'll notice there's one on each album that Dave co-wrote. And he didn't ask either time.
Oh, yeah.
It was something that I went to the table and I was like, guys, this I feel it goes over the line of production into songwriting, and I would like to offer Dave a credit on this song. And that's never been an uncomplicated decision in my band.
Right.
So I know that when I'm in the studio with an artist, if I offer myself as a songwriter, I'm not going to ask. If they want to credit me for that, it'll be because they opened up that part of themselves in that way. But if they don't, it's totally fine.
Right. Because it's so hard. You can't, keeping track of, who wrote what word and what. It's like, sometimes just being in the room with that person and feeling their energy. Thinking, are they going to like this? Are they going to say you're crazy? That can be a big part of that can be songwriting too, without having to put pen to paper.
Yeah. But it's just my way of doing it. And I don't know that I'll always be like that. Maybe later on in the studio I'll be involved with an artist where I'm really writing a lot, and I'll be like, hey man, so the thing is, maybe we're co-writing these. I don't know. It's just in the experience I've had so far, I've felt like it's been inappropriate for me to.
Well, it sounds like you've been doing that from the beginning. So you're natural to the collaborative, the collaborative nature of music and songwriting. There are, some artists who, no, I don't write with somebody. That's it. I just wrote my own song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With me, I'm always really free to offer up a credit as an artist, and I don't mind if it's totally equal, And I always think about the song "Crowded Table" because I literally only wrote the line. Let us take on the world while we're young and able, and bring us back together when the day is done.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it.
And Laurie McKenna and Natalie Hemby, they just made me a third songwriter. And I remember how generous that was. And I was like, that's how I want to be, actually.
Yeah.
I was like, with other writers and stuff. Because really, my heart was in that line, you know, so it felt really good to me, and I like to think that way about
Yeah,
other people.
like I said, it's hard to quantify what, you know, what means more.
It's so case by case.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. That's so cool. I love that. That's a great way to approach it, I think. So.
Do you?
Yeah, I do, absolutely. Not that my opinion matters.
That's me.
Yes, but okay, so let me ask you a little bit about the bleed from songwriting to production. And
Yeah.
maybe there's a demo stage in between. Do you always demo things, or are you more, you know, I'm guessing it's different every time, but explain demos maybe, or sketches, how they influence your production when you get actually in the studio.
I always ask artists not to send me produced demos. I always ask for just a voice memo on your phone, just guitar and vocal. Not because I want to have an overbearing outcome in how the song turns out, but just because I don't want me or that artist to get pulled in one direction in too strong of a way, to leave room for the moment that is rock and roll in the studio.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then part of that goes with, well, haven't decided who's going to play, you know, casting the musicians that are going to be on the record. And
Yeah.
you want, you know, if we need Derek Trucks, well, we gotta give him 16 bars at least here, right? Yeah. So
That was a leap of faith.
but yeah, but so do you leave a lot of room for tracking, and then what about like overdubs and things like that? Because it's very easy to kind of just keep going with that, you know, trying things, seeing what sticks. Do you try to keep things to a core band kind of, or do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I do try to. I mean, I don't have too many prerequisites, except for that I always start out saying, you know, I don't want to hear a bunch of produced demos, and I wonder if it's all right with you if we track live. That's a really big prerequisite for me, because I actually don't really understand a way into that music without that being a prerequisite. So that does tend to be one band all the way through, because I love the continuity of that on an album.
Right.
But the band can be myriad of different people, and then overdubs, I kind of like to have like a second session for it. You know, when we've had just a minute, even if a couple of days away from the big live tracking stuff.
Right, just to see where some things to add. Yeah, just the next layer, whatever that is.
And if we can learn to accept some of the imperfections that we're like knee-jerk trying to
Now, are you
eradicate.
anyone who likes to keep tracking vocals as often as possible?
I usually wind up liking them better, even if my intention wasn't to keep them. So I'm always end up having to deal with fucking acoustic guitar bleed one way or another. But or like a weird doubled ghost vocal, which I actually am okay with a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nobody. It doesn't have to be all clean and
We don't have to be
precise.
afraid of bleed.
No, exactly. Bleed is your friend.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Let me see. Let's have a little discussion about. Well, this is part of. You've had so many great things going on these last few years. You know, it's been unbelievable. You've got 9 Grammys, 24 nominations or something like that. I mean, that's insane. But this is, you know, not only for your albums, but also for the Highwomen and of course, Tanya's record, which we're going to talk about, the Tanya Tucker. What's it called? White? Let me see. We've got...
Inside joke.
Yeah, that's right. But I do want, you know, you've had...
Oh, While I'm Living.
Yeah,
But the
While
new
I'm
one's
Living.
called Sweet Western Sound.
So and that's not out yet. We've only got a couple of singles that have kind of been released so far.
Yeah. There's the one from the documentary, Ready as I'll Never Be.
Right.
And there's the one that's out right now called Kindness. Show Some Kindness. to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it a good time to play that, or do you want to talk about, because we're going to play a little bit of Kindness and then, you know, Bring the Flowers Now from the last album.
Oh, right.
That's cool, yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe I'll preface that one too. So, has anybody seen the documentary, the Tanya Tucker documentary?
Yeah.
You saw it? Cool. It's really cool if you guys want to check it out. It's called The Return of Tanya Tucker. And the night before I went to the studio, with Shooter, who invited me in, I called a friend of mine, Kathleen Oren, who works for Tim